The American version of the War of the Rohirrim trailer is trash. It does not do its job as a trailer. It is a failure. The Japanese version is a master course in how to do a trailer effectively for a movie. Hello, my wonderful viewers, and welcome to another episode of Betty Adams Overanalyzes. Today we are going to take a look at the two trailers, the American trailer and the Japanese trailer, that have been released for War of the Rohirrim. One of the stories in Tolkien's Legendarium set in Middle-earth 200 years before Lord of the Rings. You have 45 seconds to capture your audience's attention. That's why I have my classic "Hello, my wonderful viewers" greeting, and why I always try to put a punchy, provocative line in front of it, because I know your time is precious, and you have an infinite supply of internet videos to go look from, so I want to, it's like having a good cover on your book. I want to grab your attention, get you invested in what I'm going to talk about. Many, many moons ago, when I was a tiny Betty growing up as the internet developed, my mom gave me this advice: never wait for more than 45 seconds for a website to load. Website designers know that if their reader has to wait more than 45 seconds, then they'll just click away. Therefore, websites are designed so they either load within 45 seconds or they don't load at all. Rather, if the website has not loaded by 45 seconds, something is wrong. And that's kind of where I get that 45-second number. So what we're going to do here is we are going to step by step take you through the first 45 seconds of the American trailer, and then we're going to compare it to the first 45 seconds of the Japanese trailer for War of the Rohirrim. Now, I'm not saying anything about the quality of the actual movie itself. All I'm judging here is the quality of these trailers and the question, do they do their job as a trailer? I have certain issues with the artistic style. It's got that heavy metal aesthetic vibe going on. I know a lot of people like it. I was never one for that 70s and 80s heavy metal aesthetic. The color shading on the human faces is too similar to what they did in Ruby. I know a lot of people love that. That color shading just makes them look like wax corpses to me. And this movie does not look like it's going to shy away from the very realistic blood and gore that you will find on a battlefield. It looks like it's done artistically, but again, that's not for me. That is all aside. All I'm doing here is judging whether these trailers accurately represent what the movie is about, and whether these trailers successfully hook in the audience. So let's take a look at the American trailer. We start off on the wrong foot. 19 long segments of essentially random scenes from Lord of the Rings, chopped up with multiple camera panning over drawn map scenes. It's long, it's drawn out. By the end of it, it's obvious that they are trying to tug on your heartstrings for your nostalgia for a movie that was made over 20 years ago now. Nostalgia bait is not necessarily a bad thing, but 19 seconds is way too long. Moreover, and this will be important later, note this: they focus on Aragorn traveling. They show Eowyn in her position of power in her beautiful clothes atop one of the lookouts. They show the flashy, bold, traditionally more heroic members of the Fellowship in positions of power and confidence. And then, and they're making the strong connection between, and they show the scene specifically of Aragorn throwing open the main doors of the kingdom of the throne room of Rohan. An iconic scene from the movie, and they make sure to pinpoint as that was the most important thing in the sequence. So they're sticking in your mind. Aragorn, the good guy, the hero, the rightful king, throwing the doors open to the throne room of Rohan. Then we finally, 20 seconds in, get the actual animation style that we're looking at. Beautiful golden eagle, or it's very similar to a golden eagle, sweeping over a fortress. That is when the most confusing and jarring element jumps in. We have Eowyn giving a voiceover. All Middle-earth knows the tale of the War of the Ring, but 200 years before that, there was an older tale. This is clearly meant to be yet another member berry, harkening back to Galadriel's famous introduction to the Lord of the Rings. But in context, Galadriel's speech was clearly made from in-universe, something she would have logically said to Bilbo during his stay at Rivendell, or the Fellowship as they came to her. In Lothlorien, it was clearly meant to be an in-universe speech. Galadriel was an ageless elf who had spent multiple ages of Middle-earth gathering knowledge and had joined what was literally called the Council of the Wise. If she herself wasn't a historian, she hung out with them all the time. Éowyn is not. There is no sense in Éowyn giving this kind of speech. Éowyn is a warrior shield maiden. She is the jockest of jocks from a jock culture. Keeping ancient knowledge alive is not her thing, and dispensing it in a pretentious, serious tones is very much not her style. But the real problem is how it's phrased. First off, it is objectively untrue in universe that all Middle-earth knows the tale. Even this was Éowyn speaking from after the War of the Rings. I mean, the Shire alone was proverbially ignorant, as were the humans around the area. The Easterlings, most of Middle-earth have no idea what went down in Rohan the week of the War of the Rings. So clearly, that first statement means that this little speech is directed at the real-world audience. Éowyn is breaking the fourth wall like Deadpool, and for obvious reasons that doesn't work. Also, Éowyn lived the War of the Rings of a young woman. It was the defining moment of her era. The second sentence of that should be 200 years ago, rather framing the events as before Éowyn's time, not before a time long ago and far away. This clearly shows that the intro is addressed by a Deadpool-type character addressing the audience from within the media, and that makes no sense. It completely breaks the suspension of disbelief. And this intro is playing over, it starts at the 19-second mark, and it plays over an additional 25 seconds of completely disconnected generic images, about 3/4 of which are images of war, for which we have no context. It isn't clear who the main character is. We have no investment in these people and these soldiers. There's no stakes. There's no one to root for. No reason to root for them. Everything is dark and vague. Artistically, it's unclear what's going on. We have no idea where we are, and we have no idea what is going on. Are we seeing brave defenders? Are we seeing invaders? Finally, we get one clear image of what we are going to presume to be the MC, because she's front and center. She's the first character we've gotten a full look at, and she's sitting in a throne room. You can see someone who's obviously the king and maybe a couple of his warriors behind her, but she is just looking bored and irritated as some Aragorn-looking dude bursts open the doors and walks into the throne room. Now, remember what I said. Pin that original image that they showed in the opening sequence of Aragorn bursting into the throne room of Rohan. From this tiny bit of information that we have, from this one image, 45 seconds into the trailer, our sympathies are with the dude busting in, not the person who's going to turn out to be the MC. Why? Because the first 20 seconds of the trailer, fully exceeding the average American attention span by at least 14 seconds, focused on the Fellowship approaching Rohan and culminated in the scene of Aragorn bursting open those doors. This framing sets up the audience to expect the side of justice to be on the invaders, whoever just burst open that door. Moreover, we know nothing about the main character, not her family, not her culture. Do her people love and respect her, or do they fear and avoid her? Does she have any useful skills? What's her relationship with the other three people in the image with her? Nothing. We have a complete blank, just a bored and irritated looking face. It has been 45 seconds. The website has failed to load, and you've lost most of your audience already. The only emotional connection we've formed, and this only because if you have the nostalgia of the original Lord of the Rings series, is with whatever dark-haired antagonist just burst through the main doors. Now, that was the first 45 seconds of the American trailer. Let's go contrast this with the first 45 seconds of the Japanese trailer. It opens up with 10 seconds of Lord of the Rings footage. That's half the time. You see all of the Fellowship on the trail. Gandalf leading. Then you see a picture of the ring. Then you see Frodo dealing with the risk of the only one map scene. There's a focus on friendship, on cooperation, and on the humblest of the Fellowship facing dark temptation. Then we get the animation of the eagle swooping over the fortress. All that done, 10 seconds. Now, let's look at the next 8 seconds. This introduces the main character, and we see her riding over the open fields, doing something practical in an appropriate clothing. The scene establishes the environment that we are in. We are in the open plains, and that is the nature of Rohirrim. You are looking at a cavalry culture, a horse culture. And we pan over a village very quickly. We establish the culture and the people of Rohirrim. They look like honest, hardworking people who maybe farm the land, who maybe tends the horses. We see them reacting to the main character. We see that she loves riding horses. We see that she is friendly with the poor people in this village, and that the poor people in this village love their princess. Even though the village she's riding through is not rich, the people at least look well-fed and friendly with the royal family. Given the feudal nature of the culture this establishes, it shows that these people rely on the royal family, on her. And they rely on her because, well, under her rule, under her family's rule, they have enough food, even if they're not very rich. Then we have the closing scene establish that she's the daughter of the king and therefore the princess. 18 seconds in, and we're already attached to these people. For the next, we have stakes. For the next 5 seconds, we see the village explodes. The village that these people were attached to are in. And the camera focuses on the destruction. And we already care. No, we're saying. And by the time the destruction fades down, and has a second to sink in, we can see that these elephants wrecking the destruction. This is already so much more powerful than the elephants in the American trailer. We see the MC working in concert with another of her father's warriors, reacting to the destruction. They are concerned, but they're not panicking. Even more telling than that, the reaction of the humans is the reactions of the horses. The horses are also concerned, but not panicking. These are 2 expert horse riders controlling their steeds in a dangerous combat situation. This establishes that the main character, the princess, she is a good horse rider. She can't just ride fast on the open plains. She has a bond with her horse and can keep it under control. Over the next 7 seconds, we switch from the main character to the antagonist. It starts off with a flashback showing the relationship between the main character and the antagonist. They were close childhood friends, but then as we flash through rapid scenes, we see their friendship being complicated by court politics, and then they turn enemies. And you can tell by the well-chosen scenes that this is a process that takes several years in the aging of the antagonist. We have now established that the main character's and antagonist relationship is that of a tragedy. Friends turned to enemies. Then we have the next 10 seconds. We establish that we are dealing with a large-scale war. These are nations going to war, not just a skirmish. It's established that the main character and the antagonist are not only on opposite sides, but they are counterparts in rank and importance. We see them doing things like leading armies. And the color scheme has completely changed from the beginning. From the bright colors and the wide open spaces, everything has gone dark and claustrophobic. But we still know this is the village where the family of happy, healthy children used to live. The next 5 seconds establishes who the main character's allies are in the war. It shows the king. It shows what is presumably one of his warriors and what is presumably either her brother or her cousin. Their faces look very similar. So there we have the first 45 seconds. The first 45 seconds alone has told us everything that War of the Rohirrim is going to be about. Our sympathies from this Japanese trailer are fully with the main character. We are rooting for her and her people to survive. The stakes are clear, and we have been shown that she has multiple skills that will assist her in this goal of the survival, because those are the stakes. Are her and her people going to survive? The antagonist has been clearly defined, and the differences between the main character and the antagonist have been established. These are friends. They're now stuck in some sort of civil war or interfactional war. They used to be friends. They are now enemies. And the main character is going to have to go up against her childhood friend and defend her people, because the stakes of the show are the survival of her people and her nation. We got all of that in the first 45 seconds, compared to the absolute big fat zero of nothing that we got from the first 45 seconds of the American trailer. I am going to do a second video. I was going to try to fit this all in one video, but I'm already running out of time. I just want to point out, I did not understand a word of the Japanese trailer except when they said Peter Jackson's name. I got all of this from the Japanese trailer, only from the images. So I actually can't tell if there was a cheesy voiceover, but I did not hear a female voice during the time when there would have been the voiceover. So I don't think so. So in 45 seconds, the Japanese trailer does everything. In the first 45 seconds, the American trailer does nothing but confuse the question of who is the antagonist and who is the protagonist. But what do you think, my wonderful viewers? Am I being too harsh on the American trailer? Is it such a bad thing that we learn nothing of any value in the first 45 seconds? Was the American trailer just too slow for the American audience? Or am I being too harsh? Leave me a comment below the video telling me what you think. I really like to hear your opinions on the matter. Hit that like and subscribe button, and peace out, my wonderful viewers.
Escape into another world with the writings of author Betty Adams. Two worlds, one of utter absurdity, one of dramatic tension, both alike in aliens absolutely astounded by human behavior. Humans are weird, short, absurd science fiction stories. Flying sparks, dragons, aliens, and things that go boom in the night.
Books available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kobo by Rakuten, Google Play Books, and at authorBettyAdams.com for a signed copy.